KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, what is the secret to understanding Social Security? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com and I will get your question answered for you. You can always go to the Ask Bob section and send it in. Great way to get information and check out all of the other resources at the website at prudentmoney.com. Probably the one question that I get the most emails from, or about, is Social Security. It's one of those big question marks of the future as to will it be around, in what condition will it be, is the trust fund going to run out of money? And what I wanted to do, just to start off the program, is talk a little bit about some basics of Social Security and talk a little bit about how you end up solving the Social Security problem. Because if you break it down and you look at it from at a certain angle, it makes it a lot easier to understand. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think the very first question that always seems to come up is Social Security going to be around for me? I get this question quite a bit, mainly from people that are in their 50s, because it's one of those things where you're like, I'm so close. And it's, the thing that I think that is important to realize about Social Security is that if you've ever taken an opportunity to really look at the benefit and look at your benefit versus your spouse's benefit, that really, those two numbers over a lifetime of earnings and the way Social Security works does make for a very, very good income base. And so sure, you've participated in the system, you've put money back in the system, and the system, when it was originally developed, I believe sometime in the 30s, it had different goals in mind. Today, it's almost kind of become a go-to retirement source. So, of course, people are a little bit anxious about if they're depending upon Social Security, is it going to be around? This is just my personal opinion, and first let me go over what it means for Social Security to run out of money. The first thing that you have to do is understand how the trust fund works. I'm sure that you've heard about the Social Security Trust Fund. Basically, in the ideal situation, when money comes into the government from Social Security payroll taxes, the money goes into the trust, and then from the trust goes out to pay Social Security benefits. The ideal balance is that you are accumulating money in the trust along with paying Social Security benefits. That's the healthy way that this happens. Unfortunately, the way that it was taking place through many years is that politicians have kind of robbed that. I think it was back in the 90s, but I'm not totally for sure, but I think it was back in the 90s. The politicians figured out a way to take money from the trust fund, and thus we have the problem that we have today. So it's kind of one of those things where money goes in and a lot of money goes out of that trust fund, especially the amount of money that was supposed to be accumulating and saving for future generations. So you've heard the dates of 2034, 2036, and 2032. Those are the three that I've heard, is that what happens when Social Security runs out of money. Now, what that really means is not that, it doesn't mean that Social Security is just going to dry up and it's going to go away. It simply means the trust fund has run out of money. So there's no extra money in the trust fund. The only thing that is funding Social Security is the money that's coming in from payroll taxes. So money comes into the government and it goes out the back door to the recipients of the Social Security benefits who are currently getting them. So if that's if that's 2032, 2034, 2036, whatever that is, that they get to the point to where Social Security benefit or Social Security payroll tax is paying for everything, then we are at the problem where the trust fund has gone away and is really no more benefit. So, having said that, the problem in 32 or 34 or 36 is that the Social Security taxes that come into the government then go out to pay Social Security benefits only cover basically about 70% of the benefits. So if you're used to getting $1,000 a month, just to keep the math easy, you're now going to get $700 a month. Now, before I go further, don't panic. Don't think this is definitely going to happen. I personally believe, I mean, I look at Social Security solutions as far as the government goes to kind of come in waves. So the very first one that they do, they'll figure out a way to secure Social Security as it currently stands, maybe for the next 30 to 35 years. And then when that's up, they will come in with round two to figure out how to secure another certain amount of years. The bottom line is, if they were, and I've seen studies that show if they were to raise payroll taxes just a little bit, and when I say raise payroll taxes, I mean not a whole lot, they could secure Social Security benefits for decades down the road. Not fix it, but certainly solve a lot of the problem. The catch-22 that comes along with that is you want to be the president that quote-unquote solves, and they'll talk about solving the Social Security problem, but it won't. But you want to be the president that solves it, but you don't want to be the president that raises taxes to solve it. So they'll figure out a way to raise taxes, but you really won't see it. You really won't even know what's going on. You'll feel it, but you don't know why you're feeling it. You know how it goes with the way the politicians work. So I don't think that anybody in their 50s, maybe late 40s, are going to feel any problems with Social Security. Then, and this is pure speculation on my part, just knowing what politicians do. And the second round of solutions that will come to Social Security will be done where there will be maybe some modifications. But here's the thing. If you're in your mid-40s and you suspect that Social Security won't be there in the same form that it will be in, that it's being paid out today, you start to prepare for that. You're still in a situation where you've got 20, 25 years, maybe not ideal, but you've got 20 to 25 years to fix that problem. They can also do things like move the Social Security age up a couple of years. So there's a lot of things they can do. I think what it's going to take is the courage for politicians to do what's necessary to fix this system. And this system needs to be fixed. There is absolutely no question about that. So Social Security going to be around. I think it depends on your age, obviously. But if you're in your 50s, you should be in good shape. Now, when is the best time to take Social Security? There's a lot of different answers to this. And I think what is important is that you look at your own financial plan, That's just, once again, why it's so very important to have a plan, because a plan is something that you filter every decision through, and you know that it makes sense for your particular situation to take Social Security at, age 67 or wherever. And you know why it makes sense to do that, because with your other investments, with your pensions and whatever you have there for retirement, and that it's the right move for you. And I want to stress that there is no global answer that fits every situation. When is the best time to take Social Security? Obviously, the later that you can wait to take Social Security, the better off you are. There's absolutely no question to that, because every year that you put that off, going all the way to age 70, it's a situation where that benefit each year grows by 8%. Every year it goes up by 8%. And that can be significant if you waited an additional 3 or 4 years. That's why in age 62, which is your first year that you can take Social Security, it's not a very good benefit as compared to what it would be at 67 after it's grown 8% per year, or even age 70. And the other thing is, so it pays to wait. That's the first answer. Then the second one is that if or when a death occurs between a husband and a wife, that surviving spouse is able to take the highest Social Security benefit, and that is what they receive every time. So if a husband passes away and say that the husband's getting $3,000 and the wife is getting $2,500, then the wife will lose the $2,500 benefit and get the $3,000. And I'll go over that again here. We're up against a break. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Stick around. We will be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith, PastorChuck.org. At PastorChuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at PastorChuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith, PastorChuck.org.
Hi, I'm Jill Taylor, inviting you to join me each Saturday morning at 11 o'clock for Choose Life Radio. You'll hear people from across America sharing their stories of faith, forgiveness, redemption, and restoration. Choose Life Radio will encourage you to fully appreciate the gift of life. You may also find help for you or a friend in need. So please join me Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock right here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Dr. Charles Stanley.
Peace with God is the heart and the core and the foundation of all peace that you and I have. You can never have peace about how you feel about yourself, about the way you relate to other people, the way you see them, until there is a genuine peace in your heart with God.
The teaching of Dr. Charles Stanley on In Touch, helping you grow in Christ every day.
In Touch, weekdays at 12:30, here on KDKR.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Today, I'm not taking questions, and if you do have a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com and send that question in, and I will get it taken care of for you. It's a great way to get information and resources, all at the website, prudentmoney.com. And if you have not signed up for the e-letter newsletter list, make sure that you do, because that way you'll get whatever we're writing, whatever we're posting, from podcasts to blogs. You'll get that in your inbox straight up that when we send it out. So make sure that you go to the website and sign up today. Obviously, we do not do anything with your email address. It's even sad we have to say that these days. We just put it in a database, and it's safe there, and we certainly don't give it out to where other people can use it. I don't know about you, but I've spent, actually, this is just recent. I've spent, 4 days deleting and unsubscribing from things that I never subscribed to begin with. I don't know if this is happening to you, but it just seems since COVID, my inbox has exploded. And if I don't take care of it throughout the day, at the end of the day, I could have 300, 350, 400 emails. So it seems like I'm constantly deleting emails, and emails I never signed up for, emails that don't even apply to me. And then every industry email you can possibly imagine I'm getting. And so I've just started unsubscribing. And I got to tell you, I've unsubscribed a lot, and it seems like now new emails are popping up. If you got the answer to that, I would love for you to send me an email at info@prudentmoney.com and tell me your theory on it, because it just makes no sense to me. I think it's going to be like a lifetime of going through and deleting emails. So anyway, don't know why I got off on that tangent, but it is a issue. We were talking about Social Security, and one of the reasons that it makes sense to wait as long as possible is because the surviving spouse, that if a couple goes through a death and the one spouse that has passed away has, say, $3,000 of benefit, and then the spouse, the other surviving spouse, has $2,500, just pulling these numbers out, then what will happen is once Social Security is notified, then Social Security removes the $2,500 that was coming in, and the surviving spouse gets the higher payment, and that's all they get. Now, I've never been a big fan of this because, for many reasons. First of all, I think it doesn't leave the surviving spouse in most cases in a better situation, and it could leave the surviving spouse in a worse situation. So I wish that when they fix that, I wish they would fix it and go and do right by the surviving spouse. And considering that we once again have paid into this system for a very long time, and our spouse is now still alive and still losing a benefit that she or he or either one paid for. But that's a whole nother situation. So the best time to take Social Security is obviously to wait as long as possible and take it as late as possible, because it's just going to be a bigger payment, and a bigger payment benefits you in so many different ways. Having said that, that does not mean that age 62 that it doesn't make sense to take Social Security, or age 64 or 65. It could make just as much sense to take it then as well. And once again, it comes down to plugging those numbers into your financial plan and seeing which makes them. It's just math. It's black and white math. And math will tell you what makes the most sense. And as long as you've got that plan put together, and once again, when I talk about putting together a plan, this does not have to be a plan that is incredibly detailed, covers all the bases. And this is, by the way, something that I really want to make a ministry resource. I'm trying to figure out how to do it to where everybody that wants a plan can get one. Not a plan that's incredibly in depth, but a plan that's what I would call a starter plan that can answer the questions: yes, I'm on target. No, I'm not on target for retirement. What do I need to do to get on target? And we've developed a model for this, and it's simply utilizing an Excel spreadsheet, but it takes the components of what you're doing right now, and it gives you easy answers. It doesn't get into the complicated answers because you don't need complicated information to answer many or most of these questions. Okay, so the problem with Social Security and why it becomes so complicated, I've never gone to read I've read bits and pieces of Social Security law trying to figure out an answers for clients that have come up against a situation, but I've never had any type of a situation where I've looked at the entire legislation. Believe it or not, I've read entire pieces of law, and it's no fun because it seems like everybody in Congress is a former attorney. The way they write these things. No, nothing against attorneys. Brilliant. You have to be brilliant to understand the law and write new laws and doing those types of things. Just for us folks that have to read it, we don't understand it. So there is two different. If you're standing at a fork in the road, you're going to go one way or you're going to go another way. And if you're standing at a fork in a road and you're trying to figure out your Social Security, there's the cut and dry answers, which we've just been talking about for the entire program. It's when do you take Social Security? You don't have any special situations. Now, what I call the decision tree answer is to the other side. So one side you go down, it's the cut and dry answer. That's the easiest answer to get to. The other side of the decision tree is the tough one that you have sitting in front of you, and it's where you have the complicated situations. And I call it, once again, the decision tree answer. And this is where Social Security just comes apart in my mind, because they've just made it too difficult. You know, they made it very simple for when to take it away. You know, someone dies and things like that. But when it comes down to, was there a divorce? Was there a child with a disability? Was there a unique situation that has occurred? Was back to divorce? Were you divorced? Have you gotten remarried, or has your ex-spouse gotten remarried? I mean, and so it's like you answer the first question and you go off into the decision tree. I've never seen anything like it that is as complicated as Social Security law is. And here's the other situation is that it's really difficult to get a consultation with the Social Security office to verify that what you think is the right answer. Now, you're depending upon them to give you the right answer, and from what I understand, that they do, that the ultimately you do get the right answer, because if you apply for Social Security, I believe it's a computer, it's run through the software, the algorithms or whatever, and it says that Joe Smith is supposed to receive X amount of dollars starting at age 67, and it's supposed to know that Joe Smith's been through a divorce. Joe Smith has had a situation where his wife got remarried. I mean, and it comes out with the answer. And you got to trust that is the true answer, and that's the answer that applies to your situation. So what do you do when you get into the cut and dry answer? The decision tree answer. You get with your financial advisor and you answer it. You come up with the closest decision that you can come up with and hope that matches up. Because from what I understand, and I've not been to the Social Security office, is that you don't always leave with the answers. And sometimes you just kind of got to guess at the answers, which is somewhat of an issue. And then now you've got the situation with in office and office appointments and whether they're available, whether they still do them. It's quite the mess. So I didn't get through everything I wanted to talk about today. We'll continue this journey down Social Security and the decision tree on tomorrow. But basically what I want to leave you with is the resources that are at prudentmoney.com. First of all, I think the most important resource is the Ask Bob section, because I check that every day. The questions that come in, I do answer those questions. If you've ever sent a question in, again, I'm very, very serious about answering those questions because I want to help. That's part of the reasons why I do what I do every day on the radio, is I want to be there for a resource for you. And while we're in an environment where there aren't many resources to get advice, and I'm a little limited on the advice that I can give unless you really spelt all your situation out. But be sure and use that if I can help. I definitely want to help you. And that can all be found at prudentmoney.com. Well, this is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.